All right, boys, we are here. Dario, thanks for filling in for Joey today.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for coming back. Dario is our repeat guest, actor, writer, Dario Anthony. Nick, welcome aboard.
Well, glad to be here, Billy.
Today, we're definitely hoping that the audio is top-notch because we have fully went through 3 sets of mics and went through a whole process to try to get the audio and video better for the podcast, and we are using completely different mics today, so we're hoping for everyone's enjoyment. Everything is top-notch, and this is another appetizer leading into spooky season because I have quite the story, and this is why I wish Joey was actually here today, because if Joey was here, he could basically be my alibi or a witness to this. So this episode is about psychics and reincarnation, as per the title. The Man with Many Lives. Now, Joey's daughter, it was her birthday last Sunday, went there, hung out with Joey and his family, and Joey's mother-in-law and her husband, his father-in-law, were there, and he goes, "You got to speak to him. He's a very interesting individual." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." He's like, "You want to talk paranormal with this guy? He's the guy." And I'm like, okay. So I actually went to get to know him, talk with him, and when the paranormal term got mentioned, we went on a full conversation. And he told me he is a psychic medium. Now, when he told me that, I was like, oh, Joanne's a psychic medium. We got an interview set up in a couple of weeks with a psychic medium, Danielle. Explain to me your abilities. Now, he blew my mind because he was telling me things that I am not used to. And it was in conjunction with Joey's wife's mother's story. Now, I can't really name his name. He actually wants to be kind of anonymous. He said to me he likes to fly under the radar. I asked him, do you want to take this public and, kind of turn it into a side job, profession? He's like, no, I worked real hard to keep this under wraps. I was like, okay, that's respectable. So, long story short, he was telling me the first thing that really got me to be like, I'm going to do an episode about this was he said that he can actually tell people the time and cause of their deaths in the future. Like, if you think about Dragon Ball Z, he's like a Super Saiyan psychic. Mm-hmm. That's what makes me the best analogy I can use. Like, he really comes off as like a Super Saiyan psychic. So he said that he could actually tell people the time of death and how they're going to go. Now, Joey's mother-in-law chimed in to this, and she told me this story that when I believe it was her father was passing away, he came up to her and said, this is how he's going to go and when he's going to go. And she said that it was during COVID, so they couldn't really see. Obviously, with COVID, when your loved one passed away, you couldn't see them because of COVID. You can't go to the hospital. It was all via FaceTime and all stuff that we kind of don't agree with, but whatever. And then when they actually had the wake, it was the exact day that he said to her that he was going to pass. Then the wake happened. He said that they went up to the casket and she put her hands on the casket, and then he put his hands on the casket, and everything started to vibrate. And she could actually see like the other side. Like, she wanted clarity that her father was at peace. And because he touched the casket and made it vibrate with energy, she basically saw the other side. So not only was it the same day, because he did tell her this is when it's going to happen, and it happened. At the wake, which was prolonged because of COVID, he was able to touch the casket with her and basically give her a glimpse of the other side where she felt comfort that, hey, my dad is at peace. This is where he is. So that was the first story he told me when we were having this conversation. And then he told me he was a minister, that he's a practicing minister, Christian, and that he was like, what's your take on free will? And I said, yeah, I think we all have free will. I'm Catholic, so Christianity and Catholicism is slightly different. There's some differences in the faiths.
Right.
There's some extras with Catholicism that other branches of Christianity won't have, and vice versa.
Right. So, and I know you're very religious. So there's like a very, like Catholics will wear the crosses with Jesus on it. Christians won't have Jesus on it because that's
idolatry.
Right. You don't really know what he looked like. So he told me he's a minister, Christian minister, and he asked me about free will. And so I told him my point on free will. It's like, I think that everybody can make their own decisions, and I think God knows which decision you're going to make anyways, but you still have that freedom to make it. And if you trick God, well, I don't think that's possible, but if you trick him and you make another decision, then, whether it's wrong or right, he's going to know either way, but you might surprise him, whatever. He blew my mind with this. He said that I've been alive many times. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, when you pass away, do you really think that your free will stops when you pass? That your spirit that has been made years ago and has a completely different name. So you guys are Dario and Nick. Your spirit might not be named Dario and Nick. Your spirit might be named something else. It's pre-named upon going into your body. So now he's really catching my attention. And now I'm like, all right. He goes, when you pass away, you have free will. So ghosts, haunted houses, if they choose to stay around, that's what ghosts are. Then he's like, the reincarnation stories, people chose to go into another life and do it all again. They have free will. And he says that he's been alive for a long time. And he has brief memories of being alive. He said that at one point he understood German and could speak it. He said he still understands German. He told me about that he had these dreams that he passed away in a forest. So I asked him World War I, World War II. He said most likely. He even said a different time period. So that blew my mind with the free will. And then he says, yeah, you can just choose to go, and that's it. Go to heaven, or go into another body, or continue to roam around. So that was like mind blowing right there, because I never really thought about it like that. It's kind of like when you said what you said to Joey and I when you came on, either the first or second time, and you were like, what if you have multiple yous in multiple realms, and one of them has to make the right decision, and one of them will make it to heaven?
Yeah.
That blew our minds. Like, this guy blew my mind with free will. And then he said the book of Revelations was basically based off like Roman stories, like the fall of Rome.
Why is that?
I guess the history that I'm not really privy to.
What was his rationale for believing that it was based on?
That the Romans built it. Like, the Romans not built it, wrote it. The book of Revelations to
mess with Catholics or Christians, to mess with them?
Something that's to that extent. Not really.
So set up a false prophecy. We watched Angel back in the day. You make a prophecy up 500 years ago so that you can control the minds of the masses, because if they're afraid of this, they won't do this, kind of a deal.
Yeah, something to that extent. He mentioned Romans in there, like the Roman Empire and the book of Revelations. And again, I'm going off of last week's story with him, where I should have really recorded the conversation. So he blew my mind with the free will thing. And he has this demeanor about him. Like, he really does. He has this crazy demeanor where he's super calm. He just sat there. He started a story. And like, if we were interrupted with, kids at the party or whatever, he would look and go right back into the story to finish it. I watched his mannerisms too. Because you could tell if people are lying, like a lot of blinking, looking away. He looked me dead in my eyes and told me this stuff word for word. Didn't look once like he was making it up. And he had this very calm demeanor, sat there. Then Amy joined the conversation. Amy came. And Amy was like, oh, so, let me hear about you. Because Amy, she's scared of this stuff, but that intrigues her because it's not really ghostly. And he was doing this thing with her hand where he can he says that he can do certain things, like create energy. He said that he could take a ball and put it on a table that doesn't move the ball, where it won't easily roll, and turn the ball like this with his finger. So he had her stick out her hand, and he put her hand above it, And she was like, I feel like a tingling, like electricity type thing. And he did a finger to finger thing. And she said that she felt something. So then when I got home, I was like, did you really feel something? Or you were just like saying it to him? And she was like, no, I did feel something. So I was trying to like debunk that. And the last thing he said that was like really mind blowing was that I was like, what do you think about demons? Because Joanne calls demon shapeshifters. You know, what do you call them? He's like, they have all different types of name, and there's levels to evil. He's like, there's levels to evil. There's not just one evil. There's levels of it. And he's like, when I see or I feel that higher level, he's like, I take myself out of that zone, that area that I can put myself into. So that conversation blew my mind because he said that he's been alive many times. And then when his own father passed away, he told him, go. And his father asked him, well, what happens next? Because I guess I'm under the assumption his father knew that he had abilities. And what he had said in the story was he told his father, you can go wherever you want to go. And he let his father pass away, and with that tidbit. Now, we have a graduate from two very great schools in New York, from a high school and a college. We have a religion aficionado here, an actor, a writer. I wanted your guys' points on this topic. Because we spoke on reincarnation, Om Seti, big story, documented, real thing, real deal. Like, this happened. She thought she was Egyptian. She found an Egyptian archaeological burial site, moved to Egypt. There's other stories. We talk about Scott Drummond seeing the light, which Joey's mother-in-law saw when he touched the casket with her and showed her that her father is possibly at peace on this side, and she saw it through his psychic abilities, some power he had. I want your opinion on that.
There was a lot in that story. Let's start with reincarnation or choosing, right? So, science-based. Energy doesn't dissipate. Now, we can go into the argument that the soul is our energy, right? It's our energy source, and then when we die, that energy has to go back out into the universe. So yes, it does exist. It's not going to go anywhere. The only thing that's going to destroy energy is dark matter, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed other than by antimatter. So yeah, it's got to go somewhere. And then I heard an interesting theory. I don't know if it's been brought up here or I was reading it somewhere when we were doing research for another episode. We see light, right? We always hear that expression, see the light, don't go into the light, or go into the light, whatever, whichever way you want to look at it. What if light, I don't remember where I heard this.
This is the story when you were talking about, we did the reincarnation episode. It was a near-death experience too. And we're talking about the building where they saw the red shoe on top of the building. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
And, wow.
No, I think this is beyond that. So like,
No. I know exactly where you're going.
I know there's lights like when you're in a hospital.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
When you die in a hospital, that's probably like the thing, right? But what if the light that you see in death is
the operating room table light?
When you're being born?
Oh, I thought you were going with the Neil deGrasse.
No,
right.
So I don't remember where I heard this, but like if you're choosing, if that's a thing and you can choose, what if it's the light when you're being born? When you're being born, most of the time it's into this light area in the hospital, right? Because well lit when you're in the operating room, in the delivery room, and as you get society and culture put on you, all your past memories. That's why we don't have them of our past lives. That's just a way to look at it. They're gone because you're given new memories and new things that imprint on you.
I did hear this. When you die, the light is actually you being reborn again somewhere else.
I don't remember where I heard that,
but he's saying. No, it's out there. I don't know exactly where, but that's a big theory. And also, he's saying that you have the option in that time span
to choose
whether you come back as a bird, a plane.
Right. So that's one, right? Like you're choosing to come back. But the other half of that equation that I was thinking while you were talking about that story is, from the religious perspective. So that's the educational, and spiritual. But from the religious, certain religions don't have all three categories, which is heaven, hell, and purgatory. Not every religion has all three, even the major ones. Some just have a heaven and a purgatory. Some just have a heaven and hell. So what if you can go to heaven, that's presented to you. But if you're not allowed to go to heaven, your choice is like wander as a ghost. That could be purgatory until you can finish your business. Or for me, I think it would be a personal hell to have to do another life. Like I don't know. I don't know that I can't even say if I've been presented with the choice yet or not. But I think that would be like torture to have to relive it and redo it and relearn. And it's fun to learn, but I don't think I'd want to do it all over again.
Dario?
All right. You said he was a Christian, right?
Yeah, he did.
Well,
And I tried my best to put that story from a memory of last Sunday to this episode as best as I could.
there's a piece of me that believes. All right, I'll start it like this. I used to date this girl, very Christian. We would go to churches together, me being Catholic. I was new to this. They handle things very differently. But what I did see was there's a portion of the Mass that I've seen, and not all Christian churches do this, but there's a section called Speaking in Tongues, where some people would speak in tongues if they felt that they were hit with the Holy Spirit. Me personally, again, I'm not saying that's wrong or that's invalid. I don't believe that. So if they think that they're hit with the Holy Spirit, God bless them. I just think that there's a level of suggestibility to people that if you want to know something or you want something to be real, you will will that into existence for yourself and say, no, it's real. I saw what I saw, because that's what you need in that moment.
Right. Confirmation bias and manifestation.
Yeah, and especially with the death of a loved one, you're going to want to know that so deeply and so badly that you might even create an image of something in your mind that says, like, that was real. I saw that. He touched the casket right there. I saw the light. That's part of me specifically. But then again, I spoke to one medium. She blew my mind with one thing she said. But then I'm not... The only reason that would give me...
Can I recall that story real quick? You said that was one specific thing. And this was like the first or second time you were on. It was one particular thing that you said.
Yeah, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to tell you on air. But
No, I know. Just one thing.
But there's one thing she told me, which I remember like having this thought afterward. And I was looking at outside. Trees were going... I'm sorry, the wind was going through the trees. And I felt it was like that, like you see the rustling of the trees. It's not the trees producing the movement. It's the wind moving through the tree. So something in that moment, God was like, you need to hear this. So he used her as a vessel to kind of get something through. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. But so like there's two sides to that. Like there's a skeptical side where I say people do want to, and in that moment, maybe I needed that. And I wanted to believe that, so there's a skeptical side that says the suggestibility of it. And then there's the other side that says, well, maybe there's things that we can't explain, that these things can happen,
It's crazy because I'm a Catholic. I do have my faith still. Do I practice it as much as I used to, where I was at the point of almost becoming a priest? No. But we always say that the Bible is a very big game of telephone. It was written by
man,
and Jesus is very well documented, right? That's the one thing that Pontius Pilate, it's documented that he did crucify a man named Jesus.
They just did tests on the Shroud of Turin saying that it does date back 2,000 years ago.
Right. So
and
now that went from
Shroud
being...
itself is saying like, all right, well, either they had photography or this was like an X-ray image of something that happened that produced this image.
I saw that, and I was under the assumption the Shroud of Turin was fake. Like I heard a report the Shroud of Turin was
debunked
by carbon dating not matching the timeline, and that it was like some elaborate painting. Then this Italian archaeologist, or
I think it was done in it.
Yeah, scientist, he did some kind of test to prove that yes, it is 3,000 or 2,000 years old.
Years.
And then they ran it through AI. Did you see that? To create the image.
Oh yes, I did see
of
that.
what was on there.
Yeah,
and but this is the AI thing. AI is a collaboration of all things we already know in a database. So it came out looking like the typical Jesus. Like we think of Santa Claus, fat, white guy with a white beard, white curly hair.
Yeah.
That's Santa Claus, yeah?
But that goes back to the same thing, that it's predicting based on what you already know.
Right.
So that's like the suggestibility factor.
Right. So they ran it through AI, and now it's the Shroud of Turin's a thing. Again. Probably. But I feel that there's some things in the Bible that can't be that accurate because it was written by one individual and the story was passed on, and then people got a hold of it.
Well,
Even the Vatican got their hands on it and may or may not have changed certain things.
Oh, there's books that are sitting in Vatican's
but that's the thing.
vault that are not out for us.
The Bible is a collection of scrolls that were found, and they found these collections of different stories written by, they think, Moses wrote some of it. King David wrote some of it. John, the four Coptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and then John wrote Revelation when he was isolated in Patmos or exiled in Patmos. But these are the collections they found to encompass the Bible. Why those stories?
Didn't one of them not die? That's like something I'm hearing now too. That I actually.
What do you mean?
One of the either Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. One of them didn't die, or someone didn't die. They never have it in the Bible that he died.
I think there's two people in the Bible that were transubstantiated, meaning that they passed through death. One of them is Jesus. The other one, his name escapes me right now, but there is someone else in the Bible, in the New Testament.
Not Mary. She died.
She died.
It's not Lazarus because he brought him back from death.
Yeah, he brought him back to life. But there's another. It's like right on the tip of my tongue.
Well, isn't it alleged that one of the brothers? It's from the Old Testament, but one of the brothers is still supposed to walk the earth as like a punishment. Cain's the one that killed Abel.
Yeah.
Right, Cain is supposed to still walk.
Yeah, but you could take that into like the spirit of Cain.
Right.
I think Jordan Peterson talks about that, the spirit of Cain.
Yep.
Where it's a manifestation of evil.
Right.
Like words have meaning behind them. Names have meaning behind them. If you're manifesting the spirit of Cain.
We talked about that with Slenderman. Right?
Yeah, manifestation. Words. If you talk about it, you're going to believe it.
Yeah. So
there's definitely, to the point, but I don't want to cut you off if you had more.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so like the other thing that you talked about from this story was the free will concept. Can you have free will? Does God know? See, I've always loved that point, like even when I was a high school kid.
You just reminded me. I'm going to let you finish. He actually said something very crazy about God, too. But finish your point, and then I'll tell you about that.
All right, so I'll be brief. The free will thing is, yes, God knows all choices. Okay, that doesn't mean because God is omnipotent, right? Supposed to know all things, but you still have the ability to choose. To your point that you brought up, there's multiple different versions of us, right? But if there was no choice, you can still have free will, and God can know everything because you know the entire lexicon of the book. Let's say doesn't mean you're going to read every chapter. Doesn't mean every chapter is going to get done. Doesn't mean every level. There's levels in games that you may never play, but they're there. The developers know they're there. They exist. They're options. You don't have to take them. So the old books when we were kids, choose your own path.
Oh, I used to love those.
The writer of the book knows all the answers.
There was an Indiana Jones one that was better than the last movie.
A lot of things are better than recent things. I mean, we just talked about that.
God damn it, God.
I know you were going to say it.
Oh, my God.
Say it. All right, go ahead.
So, because he said, what you said made me remember. I'm trying to remember the conversation. He said, God is not a being. He is everything. He's literally everything. Because if you really look at the world, if you're in a good mood, because I have to be in a good mood to appreciate, and you look at like how everything is perfectly in sync and works, the sky, the stars, the planets, everything. He said that God is in everything, which is pretty much in the Bible in a sense. He's everywhere. So he says that when you pass away, basically God is everywhere. He knows every move. He's everything. He's the wind. He's the water. It's not an actual person or being or spirit like we portray him in paintings.
I disagree with that. Just because
again, this is his.
Yeah. But from my perspective, I disagree with that because you could say, Leonardo da Vinci is the Mona Lisa. That's his work. His thumbprints on it, but he's not actually that thing in its corporal form.
There's also different versions where he just painted himself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He did it
yeah.
before it was cool.
But that's what there is still a separation there, and the idea that the natural world, like the trees and the forest and the water, is God. That's more spiritualism that's come about in the last 20 years or
Right.
so.
Pantheism.
Yeah, where you're getting away from more of what God is and getting more to like, oh, well, it's everything. So my spirituality encompasses the entirety of what you would do if you just followed a major religion. Like that's a separation from, I think, religion. It's more of what's spiritualism, and that's come about recently where I know women are falling into this where they're more spiritual than religious. They believe in a spirit. The world is a spirit. But I think there's a creator that is detached, just like, Quentin Tarantino is detached from his work, but you could see his thumbprint all over his work. Or I just watched Stanley Kubrick, Clockwork Orange, and you can watch, Full Metal Jacket, and you see his thumbprint on each thing, but he's a separate entity. The creator is separated from his work.
Brain fart?
Yeah, I lost my train of thought there.
It's a deep conversation.
It is a deep conversation. So Dario's point is, we're talking about monotheism. Is monotheistic means one God, one being. So I get the spiritual side of seeing God in everything, because we're taught that too. We can see God in everything. Doesn't mean God is everything. That, not to take away from the omnipotence or the omnipresence. God is everywhere. God knows everything. Those are monotheistic beliefs. I have those. I'm pretty sure everybody sitting here has those. So God is a being, or God is an eternal force, whichever way you want to look at it. But God is an entity. I know we have the three, but that's God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. It's still all part of one. That's monotheism. Right? Those are the three. Up till now, the three major world religions, right? Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are all monotheistic religions. So there's that. There's the pantheism, which is everything is God, and then there's obviously the Greeks, the Romans, and all those other things that had it. And then I had another thought that kind of just slipped away. It was about, can you repeat the part of the story again? About, what did he say about God? It's everything?
He remember him saying that he was everything. I remember him saying the water, the wind, the trees, like, that's God. God is everything. So whatever decisions you make, he knows. You know what I mean? And then when you leave your body, your spirit, that's, again, not Billy, not Dario, not Nick, it's named. You have that choice when you leave your body because of free will, because free will doesn't end here, according to him.
Right. So now I remember. You triggered it. So there's this thing called the God particle. So if you know what the Hadron Collider is, right, it's where they're trying to create antimatter and break the speed of light and figure out how to get so far down on the molecular level that they can actually develop light speed travel and go faster than light. They have this Higgs boson particle. That's the name. It's called the God particle. It's like the Big Bang particle was the God particle, and they're trying to, it's like the eternal search for the God particle. But the point is, it's the one particle that set it off. Yes, now it's part of everything, right? Because it's created. All those things were created from it. Same thing with God. Everything was created from a monotheistic God. So yes, in theory, that would mean God is everything, but not, because we are all a part of God. Souls belong to God and all that stuff, but we are not God. I don't have omnipresence. I don't have omnipotence. I don't know everything as much as I want to say I do. I can't be everywhere all at once. I'm not the Flash. So yes, God is in us. God's fingerprint is on us. Doesn't mean God is everything.
Right. Well, I don't think he meant that God is us. He's like, he said he was everywhere in everything. Also, there's a lot of things that contradict his theory or his words. The fact that
Demons? Are you gonna bring demons up?
no, but in the Bible it says we're made in God's likeness, imagery. Mm-hmm. So in theory, if God's everything and he's a tree or water,
What does God look like?
yeah, you know what I mean. Like if we were made in his image, then that's written in the Bible. Again, then the Bible goes back to, we don't know necessarily who wrote it. Like I have a friend. He believes, he's like, it's in the Bible. And he just started this metanoia like a couple of years ago. Like in the last 20 years, he started in the last 12 to 13 years being highly religious. When I sit to get a haircut, it is every conversation that comes up. Like somehow, some way, like this one guy, we made it all the way to the end of my haircut. You know? And I like religious talk from time to time. We made it to the end of my haircut, damn near close to finishing. And the guy in the chair next to us got up and he started saying something. And he said something that was kind of like sacrilegious. And I was like, oh, here it comes. And what happened? And Charlie went into that tirade of religion. I'm like,
there goes your haircut.
We almost went into a full haircut without religious talking. Damn it. You know? And he goes in. And then he starts bringing up the Bible. And then he brings the same couple of stories that stand out to him up. The Job story, Adam and Eve, the giants, which I told him, I'm like, dude, the giants are in the Bible. And he's Catholic. They're in the Bible for like a second. It was like a whole book taken out, the Book of Enoch of the Catholic Bible. It's in other versions.
Some of that they believe is quote unquote fan fiction. You know, like
I've actually read it.
You've read the Book of Enoch? Okay, yeah.
Parts of it, whatever I could find online. Like back in the day when the internet was still young, you could find stuff like that. The Book of Thomas.
Okay.
The Book of Enoch's more about like Lilith, like the first wife of Adam, and a lot of that stuff that goes unnoted in the rest of the Bible. But yeah, I could see where it's like,
just like where you said, like, you don't know who wrote in the Bible. We don't know who's written these stories either. So it could have been like they heard of Jesus, they read parts of the Old Testament, they were fans, and just like Marvel today, I want to write about Wolverine.
and then filled in the blanks.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the Vatican has somehow, some way, in its power, because it's very powerful.
Yeah, that's an institution.
They definitely have original everything.
Dead Sea Scrolls that nobody's ever seen before.
They have everything.
I heard the catacombs go for miles underneath.
You cannot touch certain things down there without like, not even the current like gloves that we use in hospitals. You have to have special gloves in air sealed rooms. You can't actually take the page out. Like you can turn the page. You can't bring cellular devices down. You could turn the page and you could take notes, but you can't go too fast with your writing because that would maybe cause these items, which are thousands of years old, to catch fire.
They got stuff, and they know stuff that
Nobody else knows.
You know, like they're like the media. The media tells us what they want us to know, and whether we believe it or not. And the Vatican's the same way.
Yeah, I don't agree with them holding back anything, because it would further the understanding of Christ and his message for his people. So why would you hold anything back?
Right.
Leave it up to the believer of Christ to disseminate what he believes. Like, we're not children. Our institutions, including the government and the media, treat us like children that we need to. They know what's best, you know, and like a lot of that is crashing down in this new past 4 years with everything that's happening. You know, because of that, nobody wants to be treated like a child any longer and saying, we know what's best for you. They're wagging their finger. The establishments of old, the institutions, including the Catholic Church, we know what's best. Stop doing that. We want to understand what we are as a country, what we are as a people, and what we are as believers of Christ. Anything that is being hidden from us should be brought into the light and let people make their own decisions. You know?
It's funny that you said that, because it brought me to, I know it's an older movie now, but I watched the clip recently, Nefarious, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And this woman was saying, like, why it got such bad ratings on the Rotten Tomatoes scores, but the audience scores was peak, because that movie, like, literally was, like, just truth bomb after truth bomb.
Yeah.
Whoever played that demon, phenomenal acting.
Well, that's the guy from Boondock Saints. That's one of the brothers.
Oh.
Do you know that? You watch Boondock Saints?
Not Norman Reedus.
Not Norman Reedus.
Reedus.
Yeah.
He plays
He's the
brother?
other brother. Yes.
I can't remember who that is. Norman Reedus stands
It's him.
out, but
Yeah. That's the other brother. Very good actor.
Yeah, no, he did. Listen,
Yeah.
he played that role to the T. But the one thing that makes me kind of believe this gentleman, who has to go unnamed, that's why I wish Joey was here. Because if Joey was here, he would have been able to be like, yeah, he told me. Because Joey told me, he's like, you know, I'm skeptical with certain things. Joey's more of a skeptic. He has tendencies to believe certain things. Like, he believed our evidence for when we went to Letchworth.
oh yeah, we had him We had him on that.
I didn't even show you that. I don't know if I didn't send that to you. I gotta show you.
No, you didn't send.
I gotta show.
I think you did send it to me.
I gotta show you something that we caught. I'll send you the whole video, and I'll show you the clips. But what made me believe this guy a little bit is the fact that he said that the spirits that didn't choose to go anywhere, and that's the spirits that are. So when we go to these haunted locations and we catch certain things, right? It might be people that chose to stay there. So we went to Letchworth Village recently, and we went to the cemetery. You know where Letchworth Village is? Do you know about it?
This is the closed down insane asylum.
Yeah, 96.
Okay.
It was for people that were sick.
It's up north?
Yeah, it's in Rockland.
Okay.
Deals,
Yeah,
New York.
yeah.
Me and Nick went there. We walked around the property. We drove to the cemetery. We walked around. We used the Spirit Box. And within the Spirit Box app, because I used an app, I didn't buy the Spirit Box. I went on the reviews of the app, and I bought it, and it was pretty.
What's a spirit box? I don't know what that is.
It's a device that uses radio frequencies going through channels very fast to create like white noise, and the spirit in theory is supposed to use some of the words that are going through the radio stations very rapidly, produce words so that you're asking questions and you're getting answers using radio frequencies.
Think Bumblebee.
Yeah, Bumblebee
Okay. Okay.
So in the app there's another feature where you can ask questions and the text will come up of what is being said to you and actually say the answer out loud. So Nick and I were in the cemetery where predominantly everyone that's buried there is a child. A lot of people there are like no older than 25. Few people there are like over 45, 50. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna use this, see what we get. We got 3 names: Addison, Owen, and Stella. Right? So when he was talking about that, and then we went back to the mural, which is right at the front of the cemetery, which we didn't read any of the names. We glanced over it because the people of the town set toys there to honor the kids that didn't get a headstone. Their families never came back. The asylum buried them there.
Pauper's graves.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's all these little toys and stuff at the memorial with the names on it, 800 names. We didn't look at the names. We just filmed the toys and we went to the cemetery, did the spirit box. He said, we got to check out the names. We got 3 names on the spirit box. Let's go check it out. Do you believe that we found those names on there? The odds are 0.00011% as per ChatGPT, which you love so much. So I was thinking to myself that what if those souls that passed away in Letchworth Village chose, I just got here. Like, I don't want to leave. And when we asked who's here, the responses of Owen, Stella, and Addison were those people that chose not to go to the light, chose not to go into another body. They chose to remain, and they found their way to the cemetery, and they found us using these devices, which, on camera, which are not in the reels, they're on the video on the Say What Again Billy podcast YouTube channel, we got called...
Which? They talked about tattoos.
Tattoos. They said
Wait, who called you this?
the spirits.
Oh, witch. Oh,
They said witch,
Well,
and then they
think
said
about if they died in the early 1900s. to
anywhere from
1940s.
Letchworth Village was opened in the early 1900s.
Right, and that one closed in 1960. So that cemetery,
No, it closed in 1996.
No. Letchworth Village did, but that cemetery was filled in the 60s.
Oh.
So people that died there were from like 1914 to 1967. So you can imagine somebody from like 1920
Seeing us.
with a cell phone and tattoos.
Yeah. So when we got there, the spirit box was saying mythical, a witch. It said tattoos. I was like, yeah, me and Nick have tattoos. And then the names came: Stella, Addison, Owen. Before we left, we went back to the mural, and what do you think? We found Addison, Owen, and Stella, which
Billy was like a kid on Christmas.
Dude.
When he saw the second, forget the first
we
name.
found Addison. I was like, all right, we found one. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like 800 names on there.
Then like 3 names above that was Owen, and Billy was like literally got the best
so
gift he ever got in
I
his
was
life.
filming. I was like, oh, okay, we got Addison. And then Nick was like, Owen. And I was like, no way, dude. That's my reaction. And then we found Stella. We found Stella. I was looking, I was talking, and then I was like, oh, Stella. I was so shocked that we found, and obviously not the last name, but something gave us 3 names that happened to be on that memorial plaque in the cemetery of Potter's Cemetery. Crazy to me.
Yes and no. Just because I don't know about the equipment you were using and whether or not it's a marketing thing to give you, again, like,
So
if I'm a hypnotist or want you to believe something, I'm going to suggest things and let you do the rest. So there's also, well, what if this is a marketing gimmick where they'll give you words to just make up the rest yourself?
Well, I can understand that, but it did actually give 3 concrete names, which then we went and I was relieved. And I'm like, Billy, look, let's just look and see if we can see any of those names.
it didn't say John, Mike, Anthony. It said Stella, Owen, and Addison. Like,
And it doesn't, I don't know if it does have location, but even if it does have location.
That's what I'm saying. Like, does this thing have location? Maybe it could have, like, using AI could have correlated
in its
the common
defense,
names
it
in that
didn't ask
area.
me for location services, and I did do my research on it, right? So I got it on the App Store, and I was like, I could buy a spirit box, right? Or I can use this app, which I've seen Jack Osborne use on his shows, YouTubers use, and there's reviews on it. And out of, let's say, 40,000 reviews, there was like maybe 10 bad reviews of people that are probably skeptics using it to say, it's BS. And before I purchased it for the price I purchased it at, because it's a lot less expensive than buying an actual spirit box, which I did reviews on that on Amazon, because I'm very old school. EMF meters, voice recorders, video cameras, that's it. Call it a day. Use your senses. So I read the reviews on actual spirit boxes on Amazon. Well, let me buy one from a paranormal store. Get it. And the reviews were like, dude, it's just a radio. That goes through the radios. Don't waste your money. So I bought the app. And I've only used it on a few occasions recently because we've been going to places. Like, we've been kind of stepping in shit and getting called to places. And I would have had you come to the house, the haunted house. I think you were.
Which one? Oh, you showed me the video.
I think you didn't want to go either way. You were like, nah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a skeptic, but he's not. I
don't tempt fate.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I don't think it's tempting fate. When people say that, I think you have to allow certain things to happen in order for you to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can be open-minded. I have a very religious friend who came with me to Sleepy Hollow last year, and he's going to come again this year. And he's super religious, and he likes this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot, like when Amy says, "Oh, my lady, I don't want you bringing home anything home." I'm like, you will not bring anything home
if you don't let it in.
If you do not allow it. Like, so let's just say, and this has never happened to me, I was face to face with a ghost. First time I ever seen something, and it was something bad. He has no power over me. He, it, she, they, them.
Whatever.
I'm sure you're familiar with Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Very familiar with
The Conjuring was based off of their cases. Annabelle was one of them. That doll. Didn't your mother bring home one of those dolls?
Did we bring home a doll?
No, he said. I think you said your mom.
Your mom brought one of those.
No, I actually got the story messed up. My aunt ended up, when they were out there vacationing, my aunt bought these porcelain dolls.
But
that looked creepy.
You're bringing it home. That's different. You're physically bringing an item versus like you're being there.
It's an
I
item,
get it though.
Something like just, I'm going with you now. Don't see it.
But I'm talking about going to a place. You know what I mean? Going to a place and allowing something to latch onto you.
Yeah.
Zach Bagans happens to him all the time. But I think it's more for video now. You know what I mean? For his show. But I think you can go to and have the curiosity. But you could still have the faith and go to these places. Like, you go to somewhere, but you go to Sleepy Hollow and you want to do a haunted ghost tour. Or you're in Gettysburg and you want to do a haunted ghost tour for shits and giggles. It's not going against anything. It's like, let's.
Yeah, I don't believe I'm going against anything, but I don't believe in some of these things. You know what I mean? Like, I went to the Alamo. I told you.
Yeah, you were telling me.
Not a lick of paranormal activity there. You know what I mean? Like, from my perspective, and again, I sat in the infirmary by myself. I waited until it cleared out, and the infirmary is probably about the size of this whole living room. I sat there by myself. Nobody was around. It was like early morning because we wanted to get there before the crowds got there. Nothing. Not a lick of anything. I walked through the whole thing and I didn't see anything. And my buddies went to Gettysburg this summer. I didn't go, but I was like, "You happen to?" He's like, "No, I didn't see anything." Even the stuff with the basement and the
Farnsworth House?
Yeah, yeah.
They went?
They did everything.
They did it, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, nothing. So I don't know. Like it's hit or miss, you know.
That's the thing about paranormal investigation. You know, we walked through Letchworth Village, through every building we came across that we can get into, which you're technically not allowed to do. But some of the doors were wide open, so we kind of let ourselves in. You know, squatters' rights and shit. And we went in and I didn't get not one spooky feeling in any of these buildings. And mind you, we got there. I'll send you the video.
Creepy, yes.
Creepy, yes. Like spooky, haunting, no. We got there at 5 a.m, dude. The sun was still down, and it was the night after that like super blue moon. So like the moon was out like full blast, like perfect scenario for like, well, we're going to see something. We went into the first building where the sun was just coming up. I didn't get not one spooky vibe at all. But when we got to the cemetery, that's when we tried the spirit box and even the cemetery. We got there, we almost missed it. We parked on the side of the road. We went in there. It was nature. It was nice. It was chilly. No spooky vibes. But then that happened with the spirit box. So sometimes you're going to get stuff happen, and sometimes you're going to go and nothing happens. It's like, it's like a baseball game sometimes. Sometimes it's a slugfest. Sometimes it's a pitcher's duel.
Well, like you said, like you have to invite that in or give it power over you. What's to say that, some of this is more along the lines of like the demonic presence that is tempting you. Like maybe this paranormal things that happen or playing with the devil's temptations, you wanting to get away from God's light and into this, like, look what I can show you. Look at this, look at that, look at the other thing. So, I don't know.
Back to the reincarnation thing. And that's another thing. I'm trying to pick the pros and cons from this conversation with him. There's a lot of stories, dude, out there. Om Seti being one of the popular ones, Dorothy Eady. Of just, they shouldn't know this stuff. There was one story, in a nutshell, of a kid that kept having horrific dreams of being in a plane crashing. Then actually like described it to a T where his father was able to pinpoint that this particular scenario that he was talking about and describing at the age of lower than 5 was a World War II event. And then he started naming names and details so much so where his father went above and beyond to research it and got the pilot that he was describing and the plane that he was in and actually flew him to the Pacific to be in the ocean and be at peace. And after that, his memories kind of dissipated. Yeah. That kid should have never known.
When was this?
In the 90s.
In the 90s?
Yeah.
But then, this is why
research.
This is why you don't know, and it's always up for debate because the kid could have watched TV and watched the documentary. He could have went online and watched.
If I remember reading correctly, very undocumented.
Had the father find it.
He had to really dig, but the kid shouldn't have known that. And in the 90s, we're talking about no internet. The father really didn't watch
TV, books.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. At that time, at 5.
If this is a slow...
Are you reading at 5, World War II? I don't...
You might, depending on your interest, but even so, if it's a story that's not well publicized and the details, like, names of people that are on it, those are typically only on manifestos that you can go get. You go to a library or whatever and they'll have them. But, like, the kid would have had to ask for it, would have had to know exactly which route or, trail or... Not trail.
Vivid dreams. Like describing in detail
but that's what he said. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't believe secondhand information. Like even I've become so much more skeptical with the UFO phenomenon just because everything is coming from the United States government.
Right.
Well, not everything.
No,
all of a sudden.
Everything.
Media.
Everything is coming from the United States government.
Well, think about this. I agree with you to that.
But that's what I mean. But it's all secondhand information about things that they're telling you happened. So even with this case, we've fallen into, and I have this, I'll give you an example. everyone thinks that the government is lying to you. Somebody, like majority of people, not everyone.
Yeah, no,
okay?
yeah.
There's a lot of people who say, oh, well, the government's lying, this is fake, this is bullshit. We've fallen into low trust society right now. And then because of that, a lot of people don't believe anything, and how that's affecting the individual, like myself. I'll give you an example. I always believe that, JFK assassination was an inside job. However, my friend thinks the moon landing is, completely staged. All right. Yes. He thinks the moon landing is completely staged.
Kind of do too.
That's okay. You do too, right? Okay. See, but like we're in such a low trust society right now that there is no coherent facts, where you kind of need to have evidence for your own eyes right now, because this whole society is like bullshit right now because it's low trust. Nobody trusts telling the truth anymore. So for me, from my perspective, in the past 4 years, and everything that I've told you I've been through in context of like things that I shouldn't have taken but did, and being lied to, this is where we're at now. And it's made me more of a skeptic, and more of like, well, if I don't see it with my own eyes, I'm probably not going to believe you. And that's the sad reality of society in the West right now.
Right, there's no 10 pole that you can base your hat on, hang your hat on, and say, look, this is true no matter what.
Yeah.
Everything else, if I can relate it to this, there's nothing like that right now. So much distrust in the old guard.
Yes, the institutions.
Right. That makes it hard. Like, it was always the statement of history's written by the winners, which is true. It is. It's written by the winners. But now it's like, well, nothing is true. And everything is permitted.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what is truth? That was asked by Pontius Pilate when Jesus said, I am the truth, I am the way. What is truth? Because there's 1,000 truths right now. You got these people in Rome believing this. You have the Jews believing this. You say you're another thing. What is truth? And that's where we've come full circle again right now. What is truth right now? Is it your truth? Is it your truth? Is it my truth? Or where is the truth?
See, that's the thing that, and we end off on this. This is the thing it's very cool about being in this subject, right? Not only is there a multitude of things to talk about, which we can do an episode about this every week. Conspiracies, paranormal, UFOs, aliens, cryptids. We can go on and on and on. It's such an awesome subject to talk about. It's intriguing. You go in depth thinking about it. There's documented sightings and things like that where, people have seen things and reported it, and you got to really do your investigations to see whether or not it's BS or not. And then, sometimes it comes back where, things were made up, and then there's some evidence out there that, wow, it's recently a lady took 70 photos, sports mode, on her camera in Loch Ness and saw something in the water. In sports mode, took like 70 shots in less than a minute, and there was like a hump coming out. And a crew went there to research those photos and talk to the leading. He's a Guinness Book World Record holder of most investigations and research on Loch Ness, because that evidence was like the best evidence in a while to believe that something might be living there. So there's something in this field that you could talk about. And the thing about me liking it is that you can keep looking into stuff to see if there's any truths to it. Like, all right. We got a UFO. I take a UFO video. I know what I saw. I got the video footage. I show my friends. Look, it made me interested in that field, UFOs, and I'm going to keep looking into it. Right? I went to Gettysburg. Things happened to me there. My dad has stories. I have stories. I want to keep looking into it until I can find concrete evidence. It's so intriguing. But when it comes to reincarnation, there's stories out there, to me, believable ones that I don't think personally. I know you're different. 4-year-old, 5-year-old kids are not going to make up in detail, and then eventually one day, which is scary. It's always a scary thought. Think about that. We're going to know. We're going to find out what's on the other side. You know what I mean? And
unless we come back through the tunnel.
Yeah. But I thought that conversation that I had with Joey's father-in-law was very intriguing, because I got a totally different perspective from another psychic medium, which I'm starting to, at first I was skeptical, sorry, Joanne. But then Joanne came on last year and blew me away with what she told me. And then me and her went on an investigation together. And I believed everything about psychics after the first time Joanne came here and read me. and she won me over. But then she felt something in this house that we went to on this investigation. And later on in the investigation, the house owner said something that I had to cut. And she picked up on that story when we had first got there. Like, Immediately. And then he told us later on. And she had never met them, knew nothing about the house. We first walked in there. In the first 20 minutes, she was like, "What's here? This isn't supposed to be here. This wasn't the dining room, was it?" And then she turned to the house owners and said, "Yeah, the dining room when we first moved in was set up over here." Like, how the hell do you know that? You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. She didn't know them. I just brought her. So there's so much intriguing stuff about the field of paranormal. And there's so many psychics, UFOs, aliens, ghosts, cryptids. You just got to keep doing your research, talking about it, and doing your own stuff, which we've been doing. And you're going to get some answers, and you can make your own decisions.
And I think, just real quick, and then I guess this is, we don't want to go too much longer because I think we're almost out here, but you take someone like you just mentioned, everybody's got subjective truths, right? Well, I trust him. Okay, and I know that he's not BSing me. So if he is laying it out,
I hope so. You were right in front of me.
Yeah. Well, if he's laying it out, then it's there. So my thing is, like with us, we always say, go out, do your own research. You want a topic, come talk to us, message us. You don't agree with us, let us know, whatever. When you do it like that, when you're willing to say out loud, like, I'm not saying what I'm saying is reality or perfect or truthful, like, go out and find your own answer. And if you come back and your answer is different than my answer, then let's talk. When you say it like that, you give trust to people. You're allowing them to say, okay, I can trust this person, that he's not BSing me because he's open to the idea that he's wrong. When you, nope, that's it, this is it, that's when the trust goes out the window. My opinion.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I think I'm talking in the context of like the government.
Right. This is it, and there's no other way around it.
Yeah, but it's made me in turn to be more skeptical of what I don't see with my own eyes. Like, I trust you to tell me the truth, and I trust you as well because you're not full of shit. However, there's
people out there that don't trust us.
Yeah.
Right, and we have to accept that fact.
But there's also people out beyond you who are more suggestible, who believe it themselves. Who I told you, you want to believe something so badly that you will make yourself believe it as if it is a truth, not knowing that you may not have, you didn't do it maliciously, but because you wanted it or needed it to be true, you made it true for yourself. You know, like there's a saying in acting, if you believe, I believe. Meaning that when you're on stage and you believe what you're doing, you're going to make me a believer. It's the same, we're all actors, you know, like you act every day of your life. If that's the case, and if you believe, you're going to make him a believer. It's just how good you are at turning someone into a believer. You know, like I said, you may not do it maliciously, not you, but like people in general. But there's potentially a need for somebody to want to believe it so badly that it's more like, all right, well, I didn't intentionally do it, but I believe, you know. Does that make sense?
No, I get you. You know, there's going to be one person that hears what we say, and then all of a sudden that's going to be their life story.
That's all they needed.
They needed to hear it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. My point, and I think we're in agreement here, is if I'm willing to tell you, like, yes, this is my theory, this is what I'm saying, but if you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, let's discuss it, versus the old guard who says, no, this is it, this is all there is. That's why there's no trust, because if you tell me this and then I can figure out that this ain't true, everything else you say goes out the window.
You lose credibility.
Right. And if I'm telling you, like, hey, I'm not perfect, this is what I've gotten over all my experiences, if you can show me something different, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
That gives you more credibility to your word, and it gives you more power because you're like, yeah, look, I'm not the be-all, end-all authority. But there are people that are going to just hear this and take it and then stop.
Well, those people who just do that are separating the people who look for evidence.
Right.
You know, and then then that I come in like, well, what about the spirit box? You know what I mean? Like I just want to exhaust all options before you say like, all right, like there's no other explanation for it. Like,
Perfect quote from Sherlock Holmes: "When you eliminate all other possibilities, whatever's left, however impossible, must be the solution."
And that's what we do when we go on paranormal investigations. We try to debunk, and if you can't debunk and we're left with questions, then something happened. But just so you know, before we go on paranormal investigations, usually we're hungry. And you know how we fill that hunger craving?
how's that?
We go to Rock Body Fitness Cafe, which has 2 locations, Bronx, New York, and New Rochelle. If you want to eat healthy and or drink something to fill your stomach, Rock Body Fitness Cafe has tons of options, meals options, and also protein shakes they make there on the site to fill your craving, whether you want to drink it or eat it. And you can also order a meal prep option and get your meals pre-made, picked up, and put in your fridge for whenever you want to eat. So if you want a healthy option to fill your cravings before investigations or your daily life, head over to Rock Body Fitness Cafe located in Bronx, New York or New Rochelle, New York to get your hunger filled. And of course, we like to thank Spotify for Podcasters. If you haven't heard about Spotify for Podcasters, it's the free app that allows you to get your podcast idea
Out there.
So if you have a phone, tablet, or computer, head over to Spotify for Podcasters to get started. Boys, thank you so much for joining in.
This was a great little adventure.
It was a Billy and Nick. So
I had to get that in there.
Yeah, Dario, thanks for coming, buddy.
Always a pleasure.
Always fun when you are in here. I like, we lose one skeptic, we gain another with Dario. That's good. So now we're even, 50-50. Dario and Joey, Billy and Nick Adventures. And that has been another episode of the Say What Again, Billy podcast. Peace out, everybody.